Hello, my name is Yunaku, and I'm a current student at Western University majoring in medical science, and I'm the host of the event. And I'm here with Alex, our guest speaker of this series, and I really want to thank you guys for joining us today. Before we start, I would like to give a brief overview of this event. There will be 3 sessions in total. Starting this week, the session will be hosted bi-weekly, and the different topics will be covered in each session, so I will highly recommend you guys to join all 3 if you can. So if you have any specific topic that you want us to cover, please use the following link to post. So Alex, can you take it from now on?
Yeah.
Please
Thank
welcome
you.
Alex.
Thank you for the introduction. Thank you everyone for being here. Do understand it's early morning Saturday. We're in Korea, wherever you are. So I appreciate you taking the time out to come here today, and hopefully this session will bring you some good knowledge regarding university. So just like Yuna said, before I go on, just this link at the bottom. So I could probably share it. So I'll talk to you about myself in a bit. I have an education in sciences, more like biology and chemistry and stuff. But I do know many people studying other things. Are you able to share this in the chat, if you don't mind, this link?
Oh,
So any questions you have, any areas you want to cover? So what Menti is, I could just open it up here. You just type anything here and I'll be able to see it. So maybe for the next session, I could talk about that more. Just type anything that interests you, any questions you have, any areas you want me to cover regarding, anything. It doesn't even have to be regarding university. If you're moving to Toronto, I've lived here all my life. If you want to learn more about the city, more about Canadian culture, I'm free to answer everything as well. Okay, so just write anything there. It's all anonymous. You don't have to go on mic or even in the chat here. You can write it in the chat. So also, I'll have my email in a bit, so you can just save that. Email me anytime you have any questions. If you have any questions during this presentation, just bring it up. You can type in the chat. You can interrupt me. It doesn't matter. I'm more than happy to answer. Okay. So to get started with today's presentation, this is the main outline of it. First, I'll just introduce myself. Today's going to be a very brief presentation. The main goal of today is to talk about the transition from high school to university. So if you're in grade 11 or grade 12 right now, that's a big step in your life coming up, right? So there's a lot of things you should do to prepare for that. And I think you being at this session is already a good step, right? When I was in high school, grade 11, grade 12, I didn't, look for any opportunities like this. So you should be very happy, very proud of yourself to even take the time to want to learn more about university such early on, okay? So I'll introduce myself in a bit. We'll talk about finishing high school. I'll talk about the University of Waterloo and U of T. So I have graduated from Waterloo, which I'll talk about in a bit, and I'm currently attending U of T. So those are the 2 schools I know. But if there's any university you guys are interested in, so say it's Queens or McMaster here, I do know people there. I can search up information to help you. Just write it in the chat or write it on the Mentimeter. I'll be more than happy to help, okay? Then we'll talk about how to prepare for your first year in university. So there's a lot of things you can do to prepare, right? And we'll end it off with any questions, okay? So just to start introducing myself, my name is Alex, as Yuna has already mentioned. Just about me. So I just recently graduated from biomedical science at the University of Waterloo. So I spent 4 years. It's a 4-year program without co-op. Um, I I did do academically well though. I was Dean's Honors List. I have a 3.9 GPA. I had got a minor in psychology. That's an area that very interests me. During my time at Waterloo, I did a joint program with Conestoga College. So it's a college in Waterloo, the city. So I have a college diploma in biotechnology as well. Currently, I am studying at the University of Toronto. It is another joint program with the Michener Institute. You probably have not heard of the Michener Institute. I will talk about it in a future session. It is like an allied healthcare school. So I'll talk about what all that means in a future session. I'm currently studying medical radiation sciences, so radiological technology. Basically, I'm the person that takes your x-ray. So if you break a bone or something, or you need to check your lungs, I'm the person taking your x-ray, and I'm the one sending it to doctors for them to read and to get information from. So it is a program with the University of Toronto St. George and the Michener Institute. Currently, right now, I am working full-time at Michael Garron Hospital. So it's a hospital in Toronto. And there I am a student x-ray tech. So I work 8 to 4 every day. So we get people that break their bones. They come in, I take their x-rays. I can talk about all this in a different session, what my day looks like if you're interested. working in a hospital as well. Okay, so we have a few people here today. We're actually going to do, I just want to learn more about you guys, where you are, like if you're in high school, ending high school, what interests you. So I do have a quick Kahoot if you guys want to just hop into this one. If you guys have used Kahoot before, so if you have the internet, just go to Kahoot and enter the code. You can see the screen, right, Yuna? It's all good? Okay. Just a quick, just questions about, just so I know what to focus on more in these presentations. Thank you, Chloe, for joining. Quick. Welcome, welcome. So how many people do we have here? How many people should I expect up here? How many people are in this session today? Let me see. We have 3. Okay. And you don't really have to join if you don't want to. I understand. When I was in high school, I hated participating in stuff like this. You don't have to turn on your webcam. Whatever's comfortable for you guys. You could type in the chat if anything, right? Just waiting on a few more. If not, that's fine. I'll just get it started in a bit. Anyone else we're waiting on? Okay, I'm just gonna get started. I think you can join halfway if you're still willing to join. So it's just questions, just true and false questions. There's no real answer. I just want to learn more about you guys and what to focus on in future presentations, right? Because I have 2 more sessions here. So true or false? Are you in your last year of high school? Not a lot of time. So just answer quick, true or false. You tap on the screen. Okay, so not a lot of you guys aren't in your last year of high school, and that's fine. If you're for that or if you've graduated university, I hope this presentation still has good information for you. Okay, there's no score here. Okay, second question, are you interested in a post-secondary education? So university education in the sciences. This is my area of expertise, but I do know a little bit about other areas. Okay, true. So a lot of you guys are interested in science. If you're not interested in science, that's fine. I can still tell you about university and all that. If there's an area that interests you, I know a lot of friends in other programs and all that have graduated or in working fields. If you're looking for connections, feel free to reach out. I can ask who I know in your desired field, for example, business or stuff like that. Okay, true, false. I want a career in healthcare. So healthcare being anything regarding interactions with patients, right? Okay, so a lot of you guys do want a career in healthcare. This is what I'm studying right now, so I'll be able to help you guys with this. If not, there's so many other things, right? Healthcare is just one field. There's so many other things you can study. So I can have information on those. True or false, I've already received a post-secondary offer. So if you're in last year, if you've already received your offer to university, or maybe you're not applying yet, you're waiting. Okay, so you guys haven't received your post-secondary offer, probably because most of you guys aren't in your last year of high school. But I'll still talk about the applying and how to accept and searching for the right school. I think that's very important. Oh, this one was scored. Almost done. So will you have to move away from home? So not even post-secondary education, but will you have to move away? Moving away is a big step in your life, right? Moving away from where you're born. Okay, true. So I did, when I went to school, I did move away from home, right? But for me, it wasn't moving away cross country. I was born in Toronto all my life. I just had to move 2 hours away, 2-hour drive away. So I will talk about in this presentation about moving away and my experience with it and why I think it's important or what you can learn from it. Okay, last question. Are you nervous about university? Very, very generic question. Okay, yes. So it's okay to be nervous. I was nervous too. Everyone's nervous about going to university, right? When you're in high school, they make it seem like it's a big deal. It is going to be a big part about your future in your life, and it's okay to be nervous about it. So I hope these presentations help ease some of those nerves. So to get started with this presentation, today we're just going to focus very briefly on finishing high school. If you're in high school now, finishing high school, meaning last grade and then going to university, okay? So when you think about finishing high school and going into university, what do you think about? There's so many things, right? So firstly, what program do you want to apply for university, right? Secondly, how much academic freedom do you want to have? So what does this mean? Well, some programs allow you to be more free in terms of academics than others. So for example, if you take an engineering course, your courses are preset mostly for the 4 years of university, okay? You don't get to choose the courses you take. Compare that to a science program where they let you specialize, they let you take other courses, they give you more academic freedom, right? So for example, when I was in Waterloo, I wanted to learn more about psychology. So my program allowed me to take psychology courses, and I graduated with a psychology minor. About co-op. So co-op, I'll talk about what it is in a bit. And if you have any questions regarding that, finances. So university is not free, unfortunately. It is pretty expensive. So I'll break down the finances. Scholarships. So I'll talk about scholarships and where to apply for scholarships, what resources you have available. And lastly, we'll end it with residence. So living on residence, what residence is, it's like living on the university campus. So living in a building on university, or if you don't want to live on the campus, maybe somewhere else nearby. I'll talk about my experience moving out, okay? So to get started, choosing the right program. So this is more in terms of science, but it can apply for anyone. You have to ask yourself, well, what do you want to do at the end of high school, right? So for me, when I was in grade 12, I took all the sciences up until grade 12. Now that made me feel like I had to go into science, right? Because I did well in the courses and I enjoyed them. So a part of me made it feel like I was already determined to go into science. But I'm going to stress here that, you know, it's never too late to change what you want to study, right? Whether that's at the end of high school or during your course of university. I know many people who have gone through 2 years of science and said, you know what, I never liked science anyways. Maybe I want to go into something else. And it could be business, it could be something very drastic. And there's nothing wrong with that. In other sessions, I'll talk about like, you know, the notion that people feel that education is a race, right? Like you have to graduate first or graduate on time. And, you know, you shouldn't have that mentality, right? You should go at your own pace. It's not a race. This is something I'll talk about in probably the second session. It's a very big idea that society makes you feel, and I don't think it's right? So the first step here is finding the area of interest. So for me, it was science, right? I was interested in science. Then choosing the right program, you want to find the program length, okay? So most university programs in Toronto are 4 years, okay? So a 4-year program, some of them will have a spring term. So there are 3 terms in a year. There's this fall term. Every term is 4 months. There's a fall term, there's a winter term, and there's a spring term, okay? So some programs are 4 years. Now, if your program has co-op, it's probably 5 years because co-op, the work will take another year, okay? Next, you have to say, well, what type of courses do I want in that program? So for example, science is very generic, right? So you have to ask yourself, do you want to study something specific in science? For example, do I like biochemistry, or do I want to start with a very generic program? So for example, life sciences is a program that covers chemistry, biology, physics, calculus, very generic, okay? Next, you have to ask yourself, do I want to be able to take electives? So this is in response to that academic freedom I'm talking about. So what electives are, or they're courses that you can take whatever you want, okay? So you can be a science student and your elective, if you want, could be an engineering course if you want. You can go, I know students who take computer science courses while studying science, right? So it's freedom for you to learn something else, right? And what electives do, it allows you to get a minor. So what a minor is so when you graduate from university, you major in something, that's your main specialty. But a minor is like a minor specialty. So it's a subset of the major. It's just a small specialization. So I have a minor in psychology. That means I've taken a few psychology courses. I know I haven't taken a full psychology program, but I know a little bit about it, okay? Also, you have to ask yourself, do I want programs that give me other opportunities? So for example, some programs in science allow you to take research programs where, for example, one summer you go research with a company, okay? Or some universities allow joint programs. So what I did at the University of Waterloo is there was a joint program in biotechnology. So biotechnology being a new growing field about incorporating biology and technology to make new products. So that was something offered specifically to my program. right? So you have to do the research seeing, hey, if you want to do a joint program. So when I graduated not only with a university degree, but a college diploma as well, right? And lastly, the thing about science is you most likely need to do a postgraduate program after, okay? So let me just move this. So what I mean by that is, unfortunately with sciences, unlike other programs with university, most science careers require you to do a program after you graduate from your undergrad. So we're talking about 4 years of school in the undergrad, plus a few more years for postgraduate, okay? And I know it's pretty early to start thinking about postgraduate when you haven't even thought about university, or maybe haven't put a lot of thought into university already, and that's fine. Our last session, so our last of the 3 sessions, I'm just going to briefly introduce this because I think it's very important to start early, right? To start thinking about what you want to do with that science degree, okay? So the first step now is determining generic field. Now the next step will be determining specifically what do you want to do with that, okay? So like I said, I graduated from the University of Waterloo. I'm currently studying at the University of Toronto. So I have information regarding their science courses. But like I said, if you're trying to apply for a different school, just write it in the Mentimeter or send me an email. I have friends that went to probably all the universities in Toronto or Ontario. So I can reach out to them. Even if you want to meet with someone else who's graduated from a different program, I can try to arrange that for you, okay? So the University of Toronto, this is the St. George campus. So the thing with UFT, there are 3 campuses. There's a Mississauga one, there's a St. George one, and there's a Scarborough one. So the St. George one is probably the most popular in terms of science, the St. George and the Scarborough one. So in terms of the St. George one, their program is different from the University of Waterloo. And all schools usually have their own different flair for how their programs are run. Okay, so for example, University of Toronto, St. George, their first year of science is very generic. So when you apply, you just apply for science. So there's all first year students are just generic life science students, okay? Now, what this program does is after your first year, you choose a specialization, okay? Now I have links at the end for the specializations we'll talk about. And also this program doesn't specifically have a co-op option, which we'll talk about in a bit, but this year they introduced a new internship program. So it's basically kind of like co-op. It is a paid internship. And I have the link for that at the end as well, okay? And I can open it up at the end and show you guys. Now, the University of Waterloo does science different than University of Toronto. So first year, instead of applying for one generic program, you actually apply for one of 4 generic sciences, okay? For example, at the end of high school, you can apply for biochemistry, biology. I applied and I graduated from biomedical sciences, or you can apply for psychology, okay? Now, similar to University of Toronto in this case, after the first year is when you specialize. So you can major in biochemistry, but biochemistry can have many subdivisions, subspecializations, and that's what you do in second year, okay? And again, I have the link for that at the end of this presentation for you guys, okay? So a big step in your life, preparing for your first year in university. So going from high school to university, there's so many things you can think about, right? So starting with co-op, okay? So what is co-op? It's called cooperative education. You guys might not be aware of it. So basically it's paid work experience. So if I apply for a co-op program, the co-op guarantees me work experience in my field, okay? And co-op programs are usually longer than non-co-op programs. So I talked about this a few slides ago. A non-co-op program is usually 4 years long. A co-op program is usually 5 years long. It's longer because you have to work, you have certain terms that you work in at a job in your field, okay? Co-op is most often paid, okay? So my program wasn't co-op, but I asked one of my friends who took co-op at University of Waterloo, and I said, well, what co-op jobs did you have in science? Okay, so here were hers. So her first co-op term, she started off as a biology technician. This is a fancy way of saying a lab technician. So she worked in a lab, okay? Now, the pay for this was probably pretty low. It's probably minimum wage. Because it's her very first co-op term, she just finished first year university. She probably doesn't have a lot of experience, right? A lot of knowledge yet because it's only her first year, okay? Then her second job was an administrative assistant. So this was working at a health clinic, I think. Her third one was a student medical writer. So she actually wrote articles in medical newspapers, right? Stuff like that. And as the jobs went on, so she ended up as a research assistant. So she worked with a PhD student and a professor, and they did a whole research project, and her name is on that project. It is a certified research article. And I asked her, and she said, as your co-op terms go on, you get paid more. And it makes sense, right? They're gonna pay a fourth year student more than a first year student, okay? The thing about co-op as well is there is an interview process. So you're not guaranteed the job. Basically what it is the school gives you a big list of jobs and you choose which ones you want to apply for. And then if you get selected, you have to do an interview with all the other students, right? So it is a good idea to start doing interview practice, right? It's always good throughout your life. You're gonna have to do many interviews. I don't like them myself. I know it's pretty awkward. But I think it's good to start early to do these interview career workshops early, okay? And the thing about co-op is they will get better as the term progresses or your university career. What do I mean by that? Well, most people do not like their first co-op because like I say, you don't get paid a lot. It's a very generic job. But what I talk to people, they say, as your co-ops go on, you get better and better jobs, stuff you're more interested in, right? So, don't be discouraged if you don't like your first co-op job. It's only for 4 months, right? You just got to stick with it for 4 months. They get better as your university career progresses, okay? So finances, let's talk a little bit about finances. University is not free, unfortunately, in Canada. It is pretty expensive as well. So a very generic breakdown. This is going to change depending on what school you go to, right? What city you live in. Some cities here have different rent. A generic first year breakdown. So tuition around $7,700 a year. If your program does have a spring term, meaning remember there's a fall, winter, and spring term. So if your program does require you to study a spring term, it will be more. If you're an international student, they charge way more for tuition, okay? So here, a domestic student, meaning I was born in Canada, I'm a Canadian citizen, my tuition is very cheap compared to someone else coming from another country trying to study here, okay? So tuition, probably one of your biggest expenses. Transportation. So here I have a photo. This is the University of Toronto St. George campus, okay? And look, it is a very big campus, okay? So it doesn't matter if you live on campus, you'll probably need to take public transport to go between the campus and buildings on the campus, okay? So transportation is not free. So 128 is for a Metro pass, right? That's the bus pass here. If you have a car, you have to pay for student parking. There are a lot of expenses as a university student, right? Food. So I spent a lot of money on food when I moved out from home because I was fortunate enough, well, I come home from school, I had a nice meal ready for me, right? By my family. If you move away from home, you got to take care of yourself in terms of food, right? So food is a big expense. If I got lazy, I didn't want to cook one day, I would go buy food, and that adds up, right? So food is very expensive. Miscellaneous stuff. So this depends, do you want to spend money on yourself, phone bills, all of that. It probably will be more than $200 a month, but it's up to you to decide what you need and what you want to spend money on. Lastly, residence. So residence meaning where you're going to live. Okay. Now residence, the term residence specifically means living on school campus. So living somewhere, if I went to University of Toronto St. George, I would be living somewhere here. Okay. Usually what students do is they live on residence for first year only. Why do they do this? Well, if you live on your campus first year, it lets you get used to the area, right? So when I went to Waterloo, I didn't know the city, so I lived on campus. It lets you meet new people, right? So you live in a building with all first year students, right? Allows you to meet new people, and the university provides a lot of resources for students on residence, okay? So when I lived on residence, on my floor was a fourth year student who was our mentor. And anytime you had a question or something, or anytime you needed something, you could just go to their house and knock on their door, right? So there are a lot of benefits for living on residence. This is what a normal residence room looks like. I know it does not look the best, but it's up to you to bring your own stuff to customize it, right? So you get a bed, you get a mattress, probably not the best mattress. You get a desk, chair, air conditioning, all of that. And this would be connected to a common area with a kitchen, a bathroom. So different residences have different building layouts. So if you want to live by yourself, you can, but that will be more expensive than if you want to live with a roommate, for example, okay? So it depends on what school you're going to and what they offer. And residence is really expensive. So $11,000 a year, that might be even more than that now, right? They're always raising the prices. So like I say, most students live on residence first year. And then after that, when you meet people in university, when you make new friends, you live somewhere else. So you live at an apartment or something second, third, and fourth year. And that is cheaper than residence, okay? So if we add up just my makeshift breakdown, if you're a domestic student, without residence, you're already paying $15,000 a year. With residence, add that other 11,000, you're paying $26,000 a year. Now, if you're an international student, you're paying way more than that because your tuition is way more, okay? And that is expensive. That does add up. So let's talk about scholarships. So how are you going to pay for university? There are so many scholarship opportunities available. So if you don't know what a scholarship is, it's basically free money to use towards your university, okay? And you should start looking in the scholarships your last year of high school. Here I have a bunch of resources that I have the links to at the end. So first, I'm just going to start talking about OSAP, okay? So if you're from Canada,
Alex?
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt. All of us are like an international student.
National? Okay,
And-
so I won't talk about OSAP.
Yeah.
So this does not apply to you then. Unfortunately.
Right, that's right.
Is there
Thank
an
you.
option? Is there an option for where they're from for government funded assistance? Do you happen to know? There is not?
There isn't, no. No,
Okay.
I don't think we have scholarships available for international students.
Okay. So even if you're not from Canada, there are some scholarships you can apply for if you study here. So there's so many websites. I'll show you them at
Great.
the end when I close the presentation. The thing is, now they have these websites where you can search up. So it's kind of like a Google search. You can say, I'm an international student. I am going to the University of Toronto. I want to study science. What scholarships apply to me? You press search and it shows all the scholarships that you can apply to. And I know some of the scholarships require an essay. They require you to do an interview maybe, right? And you think to yourself, oh, I don't want to do that. I have so much schoolwork. Well, the thing is, there are so many people that think that way that not many people apply, right? I had a friend recently who applied for a scholarship that no one else applied to. And the scholarship was $40,000, okay? So because no one else applied, she got it just by writing down her name, and she got $40,000 towards her school. So you ask yourself, what job pays $1,000 an hour, right? Say one scholarship application pays $1,000, okay? Start working on it early, right? So start, maybe plan yourself, say every weekend I'll apply for one scholarship, right? Or something like that. Just make a plan and stick to it. I know it's a tedious process. I know it's discouraging if you don't win a scholarship, but you don't know if you don't try. And this is a good way to pay for your school, okay? I'm going to open up the resources at the end that have the search and all that, okay? So Scholarships Canada is the big website. Another one is entrance scholarships. So some universities pay students right away. So if you have a 90% average, oh, my webcam fell off, sorry. Let me just get that back up. So some universities pay students right away. So say you're coming from high school with a 90% average, they pay you an entrance scholarship for say $2,000 a year, okay? So I'll talk about entrance scholarships. Most entrance scholarships you do not have to apply for. The university will contact you saying, congratulations, we saw your high school, you did very well. We're gonna give you $2,000 a year or something like that, okay? So entrance scholarships show that it pays to do well in high school, right? You should be focusing on good grades in high school, and it could end up getting you money for university, okay? OSAP, if you're not from Canada, unfortunately OSAP doesn't apply.
Alex?
Yep.
I have Canadian citizenship, so can you explain about it, please?
Yeah, for sure. So OSAP is the Ontario Student Assistance Program. So this is government funded money towards your university, okay? So basically, when you apply for OSAP, you give them a lot of information. You're saying, my parents make this much a year, I work here, I have this much in savings, and they calculate how much money they're gonna give to you, okay? Now, my advice to everyone is if you can apply for OSAP, you should always apply for it, okay? So every year you apply for OSAP. Why is that? Well, say I enter all my information, okay? And the government says, we're gonna give you $12,000, okay? this year. So for 1 year, they give me $12,000. Well, that $12,000 is broken up into two things. It's broken up to a grant and a loan. So if they're giving me $12,000, they might say $7,000 of that 12,000 is a loan, meaning you have to pay it back after. Meanwhile, $5,000 is a grant, and the grant you do not have to pay back. So that is basically free money towards your school, okay? And what OSAP does is it gives you the option. Say they're giving me $12,000, but I don't want to take the loan. I can just take the free $5,000, which is so basically it's free money. You should always apply for it, okay? If you're applicable for OSAP, every year apply for it. It's free money. If you do not want to take the loan that you have to pay back, just take the grant that you do not have to pay back, okay? And the amount you get depends on many things. They calculate it themselves. A lot of it's based on your parents' income and the savings you have, okay? If you're not from Canada, there's a specific award called the Merit Award I was going to talk about. I'll send you the link at the end. If you're a Canadian high school student, you should apply for this Merit Award. It's very easy to win. It's a $500 award, but it really looks good on the resume. It is a world-renowned award that students can win. A big part about scholarships, where do you find information about scholarships? Talk to your guidance counselor. Do your schools have guidance counselors still? Like someone who's responsible for career advice and stuff, or no? Can anyone just type in the chat if you do? Yes, they do. Okay. So your guidance counselor is probably your biggest source of information regarding scholarships. It's their job to find scholarships for you. So if your school has someone, don't feel like you're annoying them. I contacted my guidance counselor and I said, I am applying for these schools. Can you give me a list of every single scholarship I can apply for? And it's their job to give you that list, okay? So that's a good source of information as well. You can always message me as well. I don't mind spending the time out of my day to help you find it. Another place of scholarships, some workplaces, maybe your parents work at a company and they give scholarships to the students of your parents, right? The workers at the workplace. So talk to your parents. Maybe they don't know that their workplace offers financial assistance to children of the workers, okay? Another website as well, Scholartree. I'll talk about that at the end, okay? So scholarships, how to pay for your school. My general idea here is if you can apply for it, please apply for it. One of my biggest regrets is I didn't apply for as many that I should have. It's free money. If you win it, it's worth the time. Don't feel discouraged if you do not win scholarships, right? But it's always, you don't know if you don't try, okay? So that's my general idea about scholarships. So I guess the big last thing about preparing for university is moving away from home, right? So moving away from home, if you're coming to Canada for the first time, that's a very nervous experience. I can't imagine putting myself in your shoes and moving to a new country with a new culture, right? Or even moving to a new city. Maybe you're driving 2 hours away. Just the idea of moving away from where you've been all your life is very scary and it's very intimidating, okay? So maybe I could just talk to you about my experience and just hopefully provide some insight about moving away from home, okay? So the big thing about moving away from home is there's a lot more involved in it than if you were to live at home and go to school, okay? For example, there's residence fees that I talked about. You have to pay for housing. You have to look for roommates maybe. Maybe you won't know your roommates first year. And unfortunately, sometimes you don't get the best roommates, right? It's all an experience. So maybe sometimes you'll get a roommate that is messy or is rude, you know? And that's just something that's a part of university, right? Unfortunately, life just works out that way that, you know, sometimes it's not fair or sometimes you don't get put in the best situations, but, you know, you got to make the most of it, right? Secondly, if you move away from home, you have to rent a place probably, unless you want to buy to own a place. So if you're renting a place, there's a thing called subletting. So what is this? So say I rent a house and I rent the house for the whole year. So I sign a contract saying for this one whole year, I'm going to rent this house, okay? So every month I'm paying $700 for the house, okay? Now, what if for that summer, I got a co-op job in a different city? Who's going to live in the house, right? Am I going to pay money just for that house? I still have to pay money for the house, but I might have to move to a different city, right? So what subletting is it's a contract you make and you find someone else. So you say, hey, I'm not going to be here for January, February, March, April. I'm going to find a student who wants to live here for 4 months and they're going to pay me money. That's what subletting is, okay? So we can talk about that more in the next presentations, but it's something else you have to think about if you're owning a place, and especially if your program has co-op. But it's just another way to help pay for university, right? Or just to help reduce the fees of university, okay? So moving away from home, there is a lot more involved. It is a very big and intimidating thing, but personally, I think it is a lot more rewarding. So you move away from home. At the start, it's very hard, but you learn to mature. A big thing for me was I learned to mature. I learned to become independent, right? When you go home, there's no one there to wash your dishes after you eat or to do your laundry for you, right? So you really got to develop those skills and become more independent. And I think this is a big transition into adulthood for a lot of students, right? I know many students who say moving away from home was the best thing for them because they really matured as a person, and I feel the same way, okay? And also moving from home, you have a lot more freedom. There's no one telling you you have to sleep at 12, right? Or you have to sleep at 11. That's for you to decide, right? If you want to stay up, you get a lot more freedom in terms of that, okay? So it's just things to think about. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me throughout this presentation. This was a very brief one, just talk about things to think about towards the end of high school going into university. Let me just go back up to the start. So I'll just about the other sessions if you're interested in joining the other one. So the next session is just going to talk all about first year university, because first year there's a lot of new things for you, right? For example, what are university courses? How do university courses look like, right? I have PowerPoint presentations from my university that I can show you guys. Other things as well, first university. What is orientation like? So what orientation is, it's your first 2 weeks at university or first week where they show you around and really teach you about the university. There's so many other things in first university, like what about work? Do I have to find a job? Other things like that. I do want to talk about mental health as well in this session as well, because that is a big topic of discussion in terms of university students, right? So next session, we'll talk all just about first year university. And if you guys roll anything on the Mentimeter, I'll be able to bring that up in that session. And then the last session, probably a pretty brief session. I just want to talk about what happens after university. I know you're pretty early on to be thinking about that, but a big idea that I want to stress to you guys is never too early to prepare for the future, right? A big regret from my university career is I didn't really think about what I wanted to do after university until I was probably in my 4th year, right? So the third session will just talk about, well, what happens after university, okay? So thank you guys for attending the first session. Does anyone have any questions? You could just write it in the chat. I know you don't, I know it's awkward or nerve-wracking to hop on the camera and mic, so just write it in the chat. There's the Mentimeter. I will write my email in the chat. So feel free to send me an email anytime. It could be after this session. It could be a week from now. It could be years from now after this session. I do not mind. If you have any questions regarding anything, just send me an email, okay? So save my email there. If you want me to try to reach out to people in other programs that have graduated from different fields of study, I can do that, okay? So just let me know. Anyone have any questions as of now? Just type it in the chat regarding this presentation.
I have a question about
Yeah.
the process of switching the program. Is it
Okay, yes. Is it complicated? To be honest, so that's a very good thing to bring up. So like I said before, it's never too late to switch your career of interest, right? Like I said, I know students who took 4 years of science and their last year they said, you know what, I do not want to do science anymore. I want to go to do mathematics or something I've always wanted to do. So it is possible to switch programs in university. So how does the process work? Well, it depends what you're trying to switch into. So normally in university, you have academic counselors. These are like guidance counselors at your high school. If you want to switch programs, you would contact them and they'll tell you. So for example, if I'm in science and I want to switch to engineering, I'll contact them and saying, can I switch into engineering? And they'll reply and say, it is possible. You need this amount of marks in your first year. You need to do well because the engineering program is has a much higher average requirement. And they'll provide you with all the necessities. So it's not a hard process. I think the hardest part about the process is meeting the requirements to what you're trying to transfer to.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So what I would recommend is if you want to switch your program, the person to contact will be your academic counselor at university. Okay, and all universities have academic counselors. It's their job to help students transfer between programs and all that. But yeah, it really depends on what you're trying to transfer into. Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for bringing that up. Any other questions regarding today's session?
Well, Alex, it's not a question. I wanted
Sure.
to share this with you. The biggest inspiration that I received from your session today is that education is not a race, right?
Yes, yes.
And that you have to work it on your own pace. It's okay to finish the school in 4, 6, 7 years. As long you can change the career, you can change your major, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Alex, you have a lot of interest, not only in medical fields, but in something else, right?
Oh,
do you
yes.
mind sharing your other
Yeah.
topics as well?
So just about like my hobbies and stuff. So when coronavirus happened and everything closed, a lot of my friends were looking for ways to pay for school because you can't work, right? So what we started is we started selling stuff. So it's called like shoes. You guys probably know like shoes and very hyped clothing and all that. So I started like sort of a business where I just sell stuff like that. For example, I would buy shoes that are very hard to find, and I would find a buyer and sell them. So university, you build your hobbies. I would say it's a hobby more than a business for me because I really enjoy doing it. But yeah, it's just something I've brought on given the
So it's like
coronavirus pandemic.
basketball shoes, for example, like Air Jordan, right?
Yeah. I would
They
buy
cost like,
shoes.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'd buy them. If I manage to get them, I would buy them for cheap and then I can sell them online. But it's not only shoes. I sell everything. I sell swimming pools.
Oh,
So I have big pools in
oh,
my garage. And the thing
mhm.
is, because it's getting hotter here now and stores are closed, people can't find them. So I'll sell them to the people, right?
You know what? I actually went to Walmart last week to buy a swimming pool for my baby.
Okay.
Do you still have them?
Yeah. Call me after and I could probably get you one
Okay.
for a good deal. Okay. I'll give you
Thank
for
you.
as much as I paid for it. Also as well, I sold, the PlayStation 5 that came out?
Yes.
Very hard to get. So I managed to get a lot. I sold them, right? It's just helped me pay for my school. It's just a side business,
Mhm.
side business that I started, right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
So as you go on, you find something for fun as a hobby.
Yeah.
At the same
You know,
time,
you
that
really
that
get the
supports
freedom.
your. Mhm,
Yeah,
exactly.
you really get the freedom in university to expand your interest. In the next session, I'll talk about clubs and all the other opportunities at first year university.
Oh, I thought you meant nightclubs. So okay,
Oh
sorry.
no, no. University clubs. I can talk about those too. If you want to know about clubbing experience or the drinking experience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just stuff like that. So yeah, it's a really good. It's a big part of your life. My big advice is enjoy it, right? Yes, you do
Mhm.
have to take it serious. Yes, you want to do well. Yes, you want to graduate, but you're gonna regret graduating and not having experienced what everyone else has experienced in university, right? Um,
Right.
you know, yeah, I'll have a big topic about that in the next presentation, especially the notion that university shouldn't be education itself shouldn't be a race, right? Um,
Mhm.
Yeah, so if you guys want to attend the next session, I'll be covering stuff like that and more about first year university, okay?
Thank you. One other question, please. It seems like you have a lot of friends in other schools as well. You mentioned
Yes.
that you have school friends all over the places. What's your definition of a network, and why is it
A
important?
network?
And yeah.
Yeah, so I think your personal network starts early, so it starts in high school. So I made a lot of friends in high school here. Um, and then everyone goes their own separate ways. And now they're all working in a variety of fields, right? So your network starts
Mhm.
early. It starts with friends, even if you're moving away from your country or from your city, the friends you still have at home are a network for you, right? And then
Mhm.
as you meet new people in university, as you talk to your professors more, if you want to develop develop that relationship with your professors, if you want to talk to them, they're more than happy to tell you about their studies and all that. You have so many opportunities to expand who you know, and it actually does pay off at the end of the day. You know the big saying, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. That is very
Right.
true in today's day and age, right? It doesn't matter if you get good marks sometimes. Someone who just knows someone will get the job over you most of the time, right? So that's just how the
Right.
world works. It pays to be, confident and to, be willing to reach out and to be willing to start conversations with people, right? My good friends that I lived with my last years of university, I didn't know them first year. We in a biology lab, I sat next to him. I liked the sports team. He had a sports team hat on, the Toronto Blue Jays. I like the Blue Jays. I just started talking to him, and we're good friends. We lived with each other for 3 years.
Wow.
So it's just all about, just reaching out and talking. It's really about developing your self-confidence before. That's a big thing. It will take you far in life, developing good speaking skills, right? And that's, for the students, like I really hope fall term is not online. I feel like the in-person learning experience gives you so many more opportunities, right? So I do think, do you happen to know if they announced if online learning, is your online learning going to continue in the fall, or is it going to be in person?
No, it will be in person.
So I'm very happy to hear that, because it's a very good chance to meet new
Sure.
people and expand your network, right? I know online very limits you with what you can do and who you can meet, but don't feel afraid to reach out. You're gonna meet people in your life that aren't as nice. That's just how life is, right? So
Right.
but you will, if you do spend the time to reach out and talk to people, you will meet some people that'll be your lifelong friends in university, right? You may even meet your future partner in university. Who knows, right? So
Absolutely.
it,
Yeah.
it pays off to be, charismatic or be confident in yourself. Yeah.
My last questions to you, and then I'll pass it on to Yuna. I'm absolutely grateful for your presence, and then
Yeah. No,
we
I
really appreciate
appreciate the
why you're doing
opportunity.
this.
I hope this has
And
provided some insight to everyone here.
yeah, and my question is, why are you doing this to us?
Why? Well, my mom reached out to me because she does career
Yes.
advising for you.
Right.
And I graduated from science. I'm working now, but I have the free time. A big thing is, I think I would have wanted this if I was if I was a high school student.
Yes. Yes.
I wasn't given the chance to just see what your teachers and your guidance counselors tell you. Yes, that applies, but they don't really want to tell you the real things about university, right? Like
Right.
mental health struggles is a big thing brought up this day and age, right? So I would have wanted someone to have told me like things that I should have known from their perspective, right? And that's what I hope to bring to you guys, right? So next session is probably going to be the biggest one. If you want to attend, I'm going to tell you like how university, really is, the good things, but also the bad things, right? What I regret doing, what I would recommend doing. And yet again, it is just my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt if you want, right? I'm just one
Yeah.
student of university, but yeah, I guess that's why I'm doing this. I would have wanted someone to do this for me. So
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's amazing.
yeah,
Really
yeah.
appreciate it, man.
No, I appreciate everyone coming out today, sticking with us for an hour. I hope this was some help for you guys.
Absolutely. Okay, Yuna?
So if you guys don't have any question, I think we will end this session. Just a reminder that the next session will be June 19, Saturday. It will be on the same time. So yeah, please join, and thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Before I let you go, Alex, I'm sorry, I'm gonna speak in Korean.
Yeah.
이 선배가 유나도 그렇고, and then Alex, both of them, 이렇게 대학교 선배가 있다라는 게 엄청난 선물이 될 거예요. So if there will be time that you get stuck, you don't know what to do with your life, with a school life, 어떤 거든 이렇게 도와줄 수 있는 알렉스나 뭐 유나 같은 선배가 있으니까 편안하게 궁금한 거 언제든 reach out and ask and just be grateful for it. 그리고 여기 계신 분들도 좋은 선배가 돼서 또 이런 후배들 잘 이끌어주면은 너무너무 좋은 소사이티가 될 것 같아요. That's why we are doing this. Just to make sure that all of you finish strong, and there's people like Alex, like Yuna, and me will be fully supporting whatever you do. So
I wrote my email here.
Awesome.
Contact me whenever you can.
So same time in 2 weeks, right? All right, so we're gonna get a little bit more detail in 2 weeks, but again, thank you everyone. Thanks for coming. And then if there's any other students or friends who might want to join, please feel free to ask them to join. And 감사합니다. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, you're welcome. Actually, before we head out, let me just show everyone quickly. So I just took the links, the very important links. This is for University of Toronto. One thing I do want to show everyone quickly is the scholarship search. So I'll send this link. I'll send this link here. So it's like a Google search for scholarships in Canada. Okay.
Wow.
So this is the main website. So see your matches. You just fill out I am a student, right? Currently in high school, interested in undergrad, which is university, your name. So you go through all of these, and then it'll tell you, here's all the scholarships that you can apply for. Okay.
Wow.
So do that. Also go to your school's website. So just before we go, so for example, University of Toronto, let's go to their awards portal. So this is like for scholarships, right? So this is like where all their scholarships are available, right? So go to your own university's webpage. They have their own scholarships, and they have a lot of scholarships for international students because they understand that tuition is expensive. See, look, international students up here, right? You can find a lot of information about it. Oh, they even provide information about Toronto, right? So your school's website will have the information for international students, okay? And see, scholarships and financial aid. So the Award Explorer. So this is just like the other one, but this is just for University of Toronto. So you're saying award type and mission. So this is going into university. Citizenship, open to international students, okay? Nature of the award. Do I want an award based on my academic performance? Maybe you're an athlete. They give athletic awards, right? So let's just do all. You press search, right? And here's all the awards that you can apply for. And look how, so you guys can see, okay? So this is just for the University of Toronto. Make sure you guys spend the time. It does pay off. See, look, up to $25,000, right? So that's a lot of money that can help pay for university. Some of them pay you per year. So some of them will be like $10,000 a year, right? Which is a lot of money, right? It does help you save. So yeah, if you need help finding your school's international students, just send me an email, okay? Email me about anything, okay?
I wish you told me this when I was in U of T 20 years ago.
Might not have had it as easy back then.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, my email's here. I sent it here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time.
All right. Again, Alex, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I'll see you in 2 weeks. All right.
Yep. See you in 2 weeks. Okay.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.